4 counts of murder, 4 counts of premeditated murder, 4 counts of felony murder, armed robbery, assault with intent to murder, felony firearm, and home invasion in the first degree.
It sounds like somebody set somebody up. And then they went in and killed everybody and took everything. And then in order to make sure that they got a conviction for you, they threw the book at you. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's just from the outside looking in, just based off of all of the charges that you just said, right?
It wasn't no real probable cause, no real evidence or anything against me. The police seen a young, vulnerable guy, and they took advantage of it. They seized upon that. They didn't have no real, I would say, idea or real theory that would make them want to put me at the crime scene, other than being young, black, and from
How old were you?
I was 14 at the time.
Yo, I'm wondering, before we even get started, how often do you find yourself back in the city that you grew up in?
As of late, it's very, very often. At least a couple times a month.
So I want to start from the beginning. You were born and raised in Detroit?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Detroit.
How old are you now?
I'm 29. I'll be 30 next month.
Oh, you're a baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got a lot of life to live. You got at least another 50, 60 ahead of you.
Yeah.
That's what's up. You was born on the east side or the west side of Detroit?
I actually was born on the west side of Detroit, southwest area to be exact, by like McGraw and Illinois. Mm-hmm. So I was actually born on Thanksgiving Day. So some years, like I was born on Thanksgiving. So some years, my birthday or fall on Thanksgiving was just pretty good. I was a turkey baby. So
what school did you go to?
I went to a lot of schools, in all honesty. I went to Persian high school. I went to Osborne, another high school. I went to Taft from middle school years and Winship. Yeah. I went to Burt. I also went to Hanneman for elementaries.
So you was raised on the west side?
West and east, yeah, for real.
Yeah, I'm from the west side. I was over by 7 Mile, between 7 and 8 in Livernois in Wyoming.
Okay, yeah. I lived on 7 Mile in Southfield, Rosemont.
Yeah, I wound up going to like Cass Tech, so that's where I went to, and that's why I rocked out.
That's a good school. That's one of our top schools. That's a good school. Yeah. So that's hard.
But I came out a little bit way before you. I'm 40. You're about to be 30.
You 40?
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yep. I graduated in 2000.
Yo, mid early 30s.
Nah. I done been around the block, bro. I done seen a lot, did a lot, like we all have in the city or whatever, so on and so forth. So let me back up a little bit. So, born and raised in a city. Early upbringing, you said that you went to a lot of schools. Why did you jump around so much?
A lot of moving around. Plus, like when I was real young, they put me in special resources. Okay. So a lot of the schools that I particularly wanted to go to, like that, for the neighborhood I was from, I wasn't allowed to go to them schools because a lot of them schools didn't have the resources class. So I had to go to the schools that was far out. The schools that had resource class was usually a school out my school district.
And then early upbringing, mother, father?
My father wasn't around like that.
Okay.
My mother, like, she was everything, man. I remember but my mama working 2-3 jobs to try to make sure, like, we was straight, we was good. She been, like, my number one supporter from the jump.
Yeah. I seen you in another interview, and you were saying that you stayed with your grandmother and your mother.
Yeah, facts.
And the reason I say that is because it's a lot of people that I know that I was growing up in the city. If I just look back, a lot of people grew up with their mother and their grandmother. It wasn't necessary. Even my girl grew up with her mother and her grandmother. She didn't necessarily have, that father figure in her life. And a lot of times, the women in our lives have to be the mother and the father.
And I feel like sometimes the women in our lives be the realest. Yeah. Cause like that's what like my mother is like one of the realest persons like I done met. Like as far as like anything I ever like dealt with, in life, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. I look at my mother like my father because that's how she carried herself sometimes in certain situations when I didn't have that father role. she would play it.
So I want to jump around a little bit, right? Because I want to jump back and forth simply because I think that it paints the whole picture when I had these conversations a lot of times. You said that your mother, played a huge role in your life. How significant was your mom when it came to, because I want to get to your story, obviously. How significant was your mom when it came to getting you through the situation that you went through as far as being wrongly arrested and all of that other type of stuff?
It was because of her. She was my first supporter. It was crazy because it's like at the time of my arrest, our living situation wasn't the best. Like my mother had struggles, like she was fighting and going on and shit like that, and it was like once everything had happened, I feel like my mother could have used that as an excuse to turn towards the worst. Because like any person would have did some shit like that, like they son getting locked up, getting took, and it did the total opposite for her. Like that made her like tighten her shit up and like get her life together and fight to get me home.
So you was wrongfully convicted. Paint that picture for me. Paint that story. So what happened? What were you arrested for?
4 counts of murder, 4 counts of premeditated murder, 4 counts of felony murder, armed robbery, assault with intent to murder, felony firearm, and home invasion in the first degree.
It sounded like somebody set somebody up, and then they went in and killed everybody and took everything. And then in order to make sure that they got a conviction for you, they threw the book at you. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's just from the outside looking in, just based off of all of the charges that you just said, right?
It wasn't no real probable cause, no real evidence or anything against me. The police seen a young, vulnerable guy, and they took advantage of it. They seized upon that. They didn't have no real, I would say, idea or real theory that would make them want to put me at the crime scene, other than being young, black, and from the.
How old were you?
I was 14 at the time.
Man, so you just like really getting into high school.
Yeah, I actually was going into the 10th grade. It was, I remember this very vividly. School has just started back like that week. And I was supposed to went and, like when you go to high school, you just got to go, you tell them your name, you get your schedule and you start. I didn't go that week. So the whole plan was start fresh next week because I didn't want to go to school. The reason why I didn't want to go to school is because I ain't had I was embarrassed. I didn't have clothes like that, didn't have shoes. I'm in high school now, so people looking at like your appearance and stuff like that, and we weren't really having it like that. I ain't really, so I'm like, man, I wasn't really feeling it, So I'm like, man, when I'm rushing to school, I ain't got no shoes and nothing to show off, So, I actually was in 10th grade.